let's start with Jay Childers from YouTube asking, what are the potential best benches in the league going into next season? This was like a thinker, and there are some teams that I think this could change depending on how the rest of the offseason shakes up. So some of the first ones that came to mind, Boston, and that like snuck up on me because I'm sure there might be people that make the case that they're shallow. Just looking at their rotation now, coming off the bench, Danilo Gallinari, Malcolm Brogdon, and still having Grant Williams there. And let's not forget about Peyton Pritchard as well. I guess, do you want a different type of, they did sign Bruno Caboclo. He has a chance to make the training camp roster apparently, as well as Noah Vonleh. It does seem like they're a little concerned about having that. I would call them a third big because Horford and RW3 are going to start together. But like that 9-man rotation is just, and Derek White, I didn't even mention him. So that 10-man rotation is just chock full of guys who are all really ridiculously good defensively. And maybe look, Jason Tatum, Al Horford, Jaylen Brown, Malcolm Brogdon, Derek White, Marcus Smart, Robert Williams III, and Grant Williams. So that's your 8-man rotation right there. And they're all really good defensively. And then I didn't mention Danilo Gallinari. So like you have 4 strong bench players at least. They could be there. I'm wondering if I'm taking a risk just because their bench skews like small, or it's a Danilo Gallinari or Grant Williams where it's, well, those are both kind of one position players. Do you want Grant Williams at the 5? They could be in there. This feels weird because I'm not high on their offseason at all, but Dallas, if they're really going to start JaVale McGee and Christian Wood, you would have coming off the bench Maxi Kleber and Spencer Dinwiddie, which is a great start right there. You all know how I feel about Frank Ntilikina. Reggie Bullock is probably also part of that equation. Is Tim Hardaway Jr. coming off the bench as well? I think you're looking at, so let's assume they're going to start Wood and JaVale McGee, which I think is fucking stupid, but Wood, McGee, Doncic, Dorian Finney-Smith, those are your 4. Are you putting in Dinwiddie in the starting lineup to try to replace Brunson, or do you just put Tim Hardaway Jr. there because he's such a quintessential fit with Luka? But then if you have him coming off the bench or Dinwiddie coming off the bench, I could see it. This was the first team that I think came to my mind was the Clippers. They're just so deep. They have so many wings to the point that myself and also Braden from Discord, we've been trying to find Marcus Morris Sr. trades so that we can ensure that Amir Coffey plays and he wants to see more of Brandon Boston Jr. as well. Their starting lineup, I think, is going to be Reggie Jackson, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, and then Avita Zubats, who gets the starting other 4 spot, I guess you would call it. I assume it's going to be Marcus Morris. And then you're looking at Norman Powell, Luke Kennard, Robert Covington, John Wall, Nick Batum all coming up. Terrence Mann, that's 11 fucking players. They can't play 11. We need to shorten this rotation up. I didn't even mention Brandon Boston Jr. and Amir Coffey are going to be on that bench too. This team is so deep. They're probably going to have, as of right now, I'd say the best bench in the league. I mean, let's just name these players. Forget about, we know some of them will start, but Paul George, Kawhi, Marcus Morris, Norm Powell, Luke Kennard, Robert Covington, Reggie Jackson, Avita Zubats, Nick Batum, John Wall, Terrence Mann, and then Amir Coffey, like that's 12. If you feel differently about Brandon Boston Jr. and think he needs to play, that's just 12 guys. And so only 5 of those 12 are going to start. That gives you just like a very intriguing 7-man bench rotation. The other team that I have here, and I have question marks written around them because I'm not sure if they should be here. I have the Dubs. I think you look at the kids and they're kind of the swing pieces there, but you have Dante DiVincenzo. That's going to be a perfect addition. Jordan Poole coming off the bench already. And then if you're getting Kuminga, Moody, Wiseman, what if 2 of those guys hit? That just becomes like incredibly absurd. And so I don't know. I think they could work their way into the discussion. Even if one of the kids hits this season, Moses Moody looks ready. I feel like he's just going to be plug and play. Kuminga had some nice moments. If James Wiseman is healthy, I don't expect him to go all bench guys at once. That's a lot of pressure on Jordan Poole and Dante DiVincenzo. But kind of having DV and Poole as your top 2 guys off the bench, you probably want, and then I just, Moody is probably the guy I'm not highest on long-term, but just immediately. Moody, Kuminga, Wiseman, I think they deserve an honorable mention there. One that I'm not sure is getting enough shine. I mean, are we even talking about benches in the discourse at this point of the offseason? The Pelicans. So your starting 5 should be Zion, Valanciunas, Ingram, CJ McCollum, and I would say Herb Jones. Like, you don't need a point guard in there. And so you're looking at off the bench, Devontae Graham could have a better year. Larry Nance Jr., Jackson Hayes, Trey Murphy III, and then does Dyson Daniels crack this rotation? Does Kyra Lewis crack this rotation? A lot of intriguing guys when you're looking at basically roster spots 1 through 12 still, at least 1 through 11. So there, I could see their bench just being incredibly potent. I like individually all of their talents. How do they coalesce? If you're looking at, I'm not in love with Jackson Hayes, but Larry Nance Jr. specifically, everyone who listens to this podcast knows that I am like incredibly sky high on Dyson Daniels and then also Trey Murphy the third. So that just right there is a great baseline. And then, like I said, Devontae Graham is a better basketball player than he showed last year. And then you're assuming they're always going to have like one of Ingram, McCollum, and Zion on the court at one point. I actually might want to see, I guess it depends on, I think I want to see a lot of Zion plus let's go full bench here, or at least close to it, because Larry Nance Jr., that's your front court, stretch the floor there. I guess that's sort of weeds out Jackson Hayes in certain instances. Dyson Daniels, not the best shooter, but having Trey Murphy in there and then Devontae Graham, that would be a 5-man unit I would absolutely fave. I fave that. That's the Zion plus bench. I want to see it in New Orleans. Finally, I don't know if this is going to hold, but the Knicks, their bench was basically a high point of what they did last season. And so it's tough to, I guess, pin down exactly what their bench will look like, but let's just assume that Mitchell Robinson, Randall, Brunson, and RJ Barrett are guaranteed your starting spots. Is the third one going to Fournier? Is it going to go to Cam Reddish or Quentin Grimes? If they want to lean defense. The caveat to all of this is, what if Donovan Mitchell is acquired? There's probably no more Fournier in that deal, probably no more Quentin Grimes, so I think factored into the bench rotation. But I'm looking at possible bench guys here. D Rose has been good for them, but Isaiah Hartenstein, what a fantastic pickup by the Knicks. Obi Toppin, Emmanuel Quickly, and then Cam Reddish or Quentin Grimes. And even if, look, two of these three are going to be coming off the bench, and Cam Reddish, Grimes, and Fournier. That's fine. That's a great spot to be in. And so if the Knicks wind up not acquiring Donovan Mitchell, I could very easily see their bench being a bright spot yet again. And I really hope we get to see basically RJ Barrett plus your 4 best bench players, let's say, or maybe not even 4 best, but give me RJ Barrett at this, who I project to start. Give me RJ Barrett, and then off the bench with Grimes, Quickly, Hartenstein, and Toppin. Give me that 5-man unit. I fave that too. I'm faving a lot of things right now. Those are if I had to predict I wanted to winnow it down to 5, and I think I have 6 here. I'm going to say Boston, Dallas, Golden State, the Clippers, the Pelicans, and the Knicks. There are definitely more that could creep in there, but those are the ones that stood out. I can tell you right now, the Lakers bench is not making the cut for me, insofar as anyone cares about that.